Good morning, all you young paleontologists out there. So, welcome to the DinoZone and the DinoZone YouTube channel. If we haven't met before, I'm Gerald Davey. I head up the DinoZone. I'm a geologist with a deep interest in paleontology. So we built a replica of a T-Rex. We've got rocks and minerals and fossils at the real-life dinosaur park. And of course, we're putting together this YouTube channel with all sorts of fantastic videos about all things paleontological, including obviously dinosaurs, but we also look at ancient life before the dinosaurs and the extinction events and all those amazing paleontologists and museums and other creatures that lived during the Mesozoic, which was the time when the dinosaurs lived. So today we're going to talk about Plesiosaurs, those amazing creatures that ruled the oceans way back in the Mesozoic. So before we go any further, please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button, and hit that share button, and share this video with all your friends and relatives and all those other people in your life who might be interested in dinosaurs and paleontology. Okay, so we're going on this grand adventure down into the deeps now, the deeps of the ocean rather than wandering around on land. So let's clear up one fallacy. Plesiosaurs were not dinosaurs. And we've got a quiz actually on the DinoZone website. So up on the top right under Dinosaur Fun, you can click on that and see how well you do on the quiz and see what level of paleontologist you are. So there are a couple of questions about whether pterosaurs and plesiosaurs were dinosaurs, and go and check that out. Well, I'll give you the answer now. Plesiosaurs weren't. They weren't dinosaurs. They were related. Obviously, they reptiles, marine reptiles, but they weren't dinosaurs per se. So I've got a little model from Collector. This is a Hydrotherosaurus. So this is a long-necked elasmosaurid. So there's a fantastic story about elasmosaurs and the history of paleontology. Edward Drinker Cope, one of the two paleontologists from the Bone Wars, wrote a scientific paper where he described elasmosaurs. And he made the mistake. He couldn't believe that this thing had such a long neck. So he stuck the head on the tail of the creature. And that was a huge mistake. So his arch enemy, his arch rival, Othniel Charles Marsh, just poured scorn on this mistake and attacked him in the scientific journals and in the press. And then Cope, highly embarrassed by his mistake, went around and he bought up every single copy of the scientific paper or in the journal. So I'm not sure we did manage to get every copy in, but that was his efforts to try and eradicate his mistake from the scientific press. Okay, so this is an elasmosaurid, and you can see the long neck here. And if you want one of these things, head on over to the DinoZone. We've got these for sale in the DinoZone Emporium. So get yourself an elasmosaurid, one of these hydrotherosaurs for your collection. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about these amazing creatures that lived in the Mesozoic oceans. All right, so let's dive right in now. Put on your snorkels and your mask, and let's head into those deep waters to learn about these amazing creatures that ruled the oceans. So plesiosaurs had long necks, these paddles that you can see here, that propelled them gracefully through the water. There's some lovely animations on YouTube. Whether they paddles worked in unison or whether the two front ones went up on the upstroke and the two paddles on the rear of the animal went down on the downstroke and alternating, or whether they paddled along at the same time. I'm more inclined to think that they probably paddled in unison if you look at how turtles swim in the oceans, where the action is all the same. All right, so these things rule the oceans. Amazingly well adapted, long necks, streamlined bodies, these paddles, long necks for catching fish and other marine creatures, and lots of sharp teeth. All right, let's put this thing down. I need to check my notes. So how do we know about these creatures? And this applies to all the paleontological studies. we learn about them from fossils. And some of the first plesiosaurs ever dug up were by Mary Anning along the Dorset coast in England. And she did amazing work without too much recognition at the outset. And some of those plesiosaur fossils are now in the British Natural History Museum, and you can go and visit those. So well done to Mary Anning. So scientists, paleontologists in particular, go and dig up these fossils and get insights into ancient life and the environments in which they lived. So we know that they were marine reptiles, and we know about their body shapes and these flippers that they had and all those kind of things. That all that information comes from the fossils that have been dug up by these paleontologists over the years. So plesiosaurs, based on fossil evidence, shared the world with other creatures called ichthyosaurs. Ichthos is the Greek word for fish, and saur is reptile, so that means fish reptile. So they looked quite like dolphins, and they went extinct way before the plesiosaurs. And the plesiosaurs also shared the ocean with sharks and ammonites and mosasaurs and all these kinds of creatures. There were also obviously fish in the oceans too, a shark being a very specialized kind of fish. So they were carnivores, and they did go and eat these ammonites, and they did eat other fish and any other marine creature that they could lay their hands on. They were, I guess, like you and me, and maybe more like you, being the young age that you are. They're always hungry and on the hunt for the next meal. But there were no peanut butter sandwiches out there, so they had to get their fish on the run, get their food on the run, and there was no cooking it or making it fancy. It came as you saw it. They had a strict diet of sushi, it would seem, raw fish. Okay, what else can we find out about plesiosaurs? So there were different types of plesiosaurs, and with different body shapes. Some had long necks, as we've already discussed, but others actually had quite short necks and were a lot stockier. So it's amazing the diversity within these creatures thanks to that evolutionary process. It's amazing, it really is amazing that such diversity could exist in the oceans, much as we see the same thing happening today. And bearing in mind that you've got your snorkel and face mask on, so you can go and check this all out yourself. Can you see that plesiosaur swimming by in the ocean in front of you? What a fabulous thing. You can hear even the bubbles coming up. And being such fantastic swimmers, paleontologists even believe that these things, with their powerful swimming strokes, could actually leap out of the water. But there's no direct evidence for that. That's just an inference. But it must have been a magnificent sight if this were to happen, just like a whale breaching. Imagine a plesiosaur, and these things were huge. Imagine a plesiosaur breaching, which means to leap out of the water and falling back in a huge splash as it hit the surface again. Magnificent. Don't you wish we still lived in the Mesozoic, eh? But we wouldn't last long. Something would come and eat us. So it's probably just as well that we can look back on the past from a safe distance and let all those paleontologists collect the bones and reconstruct them in the museums for us to go and visit, rather than actually having to face down a T-Rex or a plesiosaur in the ocean when we're having a swim with our fins and mask on. Right, so I think we've learned something about plesiosaurs and the amazing world in which they lived. So it's been an absolute pleasure having you here with us. We hope that you've enjoyed your adventure with us, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next video. So before we say goodbye, please once again click that like button, please click that subscribe button, please share this video with your friends, and please go and follow the links below. If you want one of these beautiful creatures and lots of other dinosaurs, go and check out the DinoZone Emporium. The link is in the description below. Right, I'm out of here. I'll see you on the next one. You take care. Bye.